Morning, beloveds, or whenever you are watching this. I want to acknowledge also the Thanksgiving festivities and thank Jet for the wonderful holiday breakfast at her house. We'll have a picture of that up next week. And Russ for having the holiday dinner at his house. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my Thanksgiving, which was with the founder of our community, Reverend Dr. Lloyd Tupper. We saw him in Cape Cod, which was just so sweet. And I have a picture of that too, which is going to go out on the letter. So if you don't get my letter every week, you can go on our homepage and just push subscribe. And all you'll get is the letter because, we don't sell anything to you. We have all of your information anyway. And so it's a gift to you. So this is the year of yes, living what we believe, and we're coming down to the tail end of it. We are at the very end of November, which is the month of generosity. There's the beautiful image of generosity, and hopefully if you haven't learned how to give freely, receive abundantly, and participate in life's generosity as you never thought possible, this is the Sunday that's going to do it for you. So So the quote from what we believe that we're looking at this month is, we believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. So this has been the month of living in God's generosity and replicating the nature of that in ourselves, because just as we had in that beautiful song, we're everything, all that God is, we are. And so if God is infinitely generous, that is our nature as well. So when we participate in generosity, we receive the generosity of life itself. And that's how that wonderful circular thing happens. So this is the title of my talk today. Do you love surprises? Is that fabulous? Surprise, right? He's kind of upstaging me. But anyway, so I want to tell you about this title because you might remember this wonderful handout that was the series for November with 1, 2, 3, 4 Sundays. And then about midway through November, I discovered that there was a 5th Sunday. And I was like, oh my goodness, I've got this lovely 4-week series. And surprise, there's another Sunday. So that's why I wanted to talk about surprises today, because I was surprised. And the word of the day, which goes along with the title, is serendipity. So I looked up serendipity, and I really, really like the definition that I found online, which is the discovery of something fortunate. You know, serendipity is when something comes into our life and we go, whoa, well, that was just great. And that came right on time. And, well, that's the perfect thing, and I didn't realize it ahead of time, and here it is, so perfect. That's serendipity. And so this Sunday is that, because we've been talking about God's generosity and the fact that everything is always given all the time, and that the discovery of something fortunate has the possibility of being a regular thing in our lives. Why? Because everything's already given, and the next delight that is there for us is already available. And so if we simply open ourselves to that, then we have more serendipitous experiences all the time. And how perfect it is that this is the concluding Sunday of the month on generosity, because we get to look at all that we get that we love, and there's more, and we can be surprised over and over again. And so how serendipitous that there is this surprise 5th Sunday. So we can actually train ourselves to accept great surprises, those fortunate things in our life that we are not expecting. And that, again, is because everything is already given. We are everything. And so we can choose the relationship that we want with our God. Now, we know in our teaching that God is all there is. And at some points in our work with our own life and practitioners with their clients, we emphasize the fact that oneness is all there is. That's the first step of treatment, is oneness and allness. And the second step of treatment is knowing that we are one with that oneness. So if we are one with all that is, which we are, there is really nothing to relate to until, do you get that? We're all one. There's nothing, there's no other to relate to until we say, I am using the creative law to accept a relationship, an I-thou relationship with the infinite. And so sometimes I act in the oneness and claim all that I am one with right now and no separation. And sometimes I live in this sweet relationship of intimacy where there is an other that I am imagining the allness to be. And that allness interacts with me in the sweetest and most wonderful ways. This is the relationship with God. That relationship when we pretend that out of the oneness there is two-ness. And in this two-ness, I am here and God is everywhere, and I relate to this otherness that is always there for me. And so, universal intelligence has given us all the possible relationships with itself that are possible. So our relationship can be humorous with God. I sometimes have a humorous relationship with God, and God just has these jokes that just crack me up. And some people that you might know, hopefully it's not any of us anymore, have a relationship with a punishing God. There is a relationship with the infinite that is sweet. There is a relationship with the infinite that is powerful. And there is a relationship with the infinite that is filled with surprises. So if you think of all the people that you know, and if all the people that you've ever gone to church with or in other denominations or had a conversation about God, and you realize that everybody has their own relationship with that divine other. And whether we call it life or divine intelligence or God or Allah or Great Spirit or love intelligence or source, whatever it is that we call that when we talk about the one and the other, everybody has a relationship with that that is either useful and happy or it's scary. And that is not because one relationship is more true than the other. It happens because there is a receptive place in all of us for a relationship with the infinite. And then that relationship is given, and then we accept it. That's how that happens. So no relationship is any more true than any other relationship. It's just the one that we nurture, and we can change it. We can change it. We can say, today I want a humorous relationship with God. Today I want a sweet relationship. Today I want a powerful relationship with God because I got big things to do. And we can do that. And that is actually a really, really wonderful thing to do. It's just like relating to each other. Sometimes, I mean, if in the relationships that you've had or have that are really, really good, it's not the same all the time. And you can say to your partner or your friend, I know you're giving me advice right now, but I don't want advice right now. I want you to pat my back and say, good job. Or, you know, I mean, you can do that. And you can do that with God as well. So, like the example that I have from my friend Jennifer Mann, who comes here and signs sometimes. We all know Jennifer. She's at the Santa Rosa Church. Her tagline on her email is, you know, love Jennifer Mann, I am open to life beyond my wildest expectations. That's a relationship with God. Because life and God can be synonymous. That is her relationship with God. I am open to the most outrageously wonderful things that I cannot imagine all the time. And, you know, they show up for her because that is the relationship that she is open to. So today we're going to talk about surprises, divine surprises. So in order to get into this, I want you to remember the first great surprise that you can remember. The surprise that... right. So, when I was about 8 or 9 at Christmas time, I opened a package that told me to go outside, and then it was one of those scavenger things. We had a fence, a brick, big patio fence, and then more yard out beyond that patio fence. And so I was directed way out beyond the fence and back into the garage and into the back seat of the car where there was a puppy. Yeah, really good surprise. Really good. And so, of course, my mom did that for me, but, of course, Mom is God. So all the surprises that you get from each other also come from God. All right, so think about one of the good surprises from your past, and for about a minute, tell your neighbor. Turn to your neighbor and just make it a short story. Okay, that's enough story. This is something, of course, that you can continue after the service. I want you to feel the energy in the room right now. I want you to just feel how light and joyful it feels. That's how surprises are. So you want to do this with me? How to get the most out of God's surprises? Okay, perfect. So first of all, you have to decide that you like surprises. That's the first thing, because when I say surprise to some people, they go, I don't know. I don't like surprises. And that's because somewhere along the line, you had a bad surprise, and so with that one bad surprise, you've decided that you don't like surprises, and in fact, you might have some very valuable information for cleansing your own consciousness, because if you automatically say, I don't like surprises, there might be a hidden belief in there that anything unexpected is not good. You know, if there's something unexpected that I'm not ready for, 9 times out of 10, that is not a good thing. So if that belief is down there, you can bring that up and cleanse it today. And this can be your answer to the generosity of God, that you discovered that and it's time to let it go. Because I want to tell you, especially for you people who are new, beliefs are not true. Beliefs are not true. They're not inherently true. It is simply structures. A belief is a structure that organizes our life. Because if we believe something, what happens is we get to see it over and over and over in the world, and then we get to say, see, I'm right, see, I'm right. But everybody gets to do that. So it's not that the beliefs are true, it's the way the structure of our mind works to prove to us what we already think. And so in order for your life to change on the outside, your belief structure has to change on the inside. That is one of the basic tenets of Science of Mind, something that we teach in every single class, and something that all of us require to be reminded of and learn and look at and pay attention to all the time until our life is one continual activity of bliss and increasing bliss. Because until that's true, we have some beliefs down there that are serving us in a way to show us things that we don't like, to show us things that are hurtful, to prove to us that the world is a dangerous and unhappy place. And so the first step is to say, from now on, I am creating a new belief, and that is that life is for me, and all that comes that is unexpected is for my great blessing. Let me read that again, and then you can install that. I'll put it in the letter. Life is for me, and all that comes that is unexpected is for my great blessing. And once we install that, we say, yeah, I like surprises. Surprises are great. So that's the first step. Then the next thing is to accept God's surprises graciously. Because every so often something happens and it looks like it's not so good. It's unexpected, and it is not the discovery of something fortunate, at least not immediately, not on the surface. So you can create a habit of looking at those things and accepting with the expectation that there is a blessing there. So most of you have this little book. This is a book of quotes that I love, and my publishing mentor, Joel Fatinos, who is the publisher of Tarcher Press, told me to do this book of quotes, and he said, and Karyl, put some of your quotes in there too. So I did. So I'm going to read you a quote of mine. I said this, and now I'm going to say it again. This is my quote on page 65. There is a blessing here, and I am determined to find it. Karyl Huntley said that. And I do say that. I say, when something happens that's like, okay, I am determined to find the blessing here. So over this holiday weekend, I flew to New York to see my two children who were in New York. And since we were so close to Cape Cod, we decided we have to go and visit Lloyd. I mean, compared to where I am now, Lloyd Tupper, the founder of our community, who's living on Cape Cod, and nobody has laid eyes on him since February. And many of his friends were saying, how's Lloyd? Are you going to see him? So I said, and the kids said, we've got to go see Lloyd. So Cape Cod, by driving on a good day, is 5 hours from New York City, and nobody had a car. And this was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And there were no cars at any airport, no cars. And there were no cars in any of the neighborhood car rental places. And many, many times, I mean, we looked into buses, we looked into trains, and finally, Melanie came up with a car of a coworker. The car was in Queens. This was Wednesday afternoon before Thanksgiving. We were in Brooklyn, and it was sleeting. And we had to get to this car in Queens. And so we looked, and the owner of the car said, well, you take this subway, and then you get on a train, not like a subway train, but a choo-choo train, to go to Queens. And then, like, what do we do when we get off the train at the train station in Queens? So we got, to make a long story short, and of course I can make this story very, very long, but there was a point many, many, many times when we said, maybe we can't do this. Maybe we're meant not to do this because it's so hard. And then we checked in, and our desire to see Lloyd was still greater than the frustration we were feeling. So it ended up that we got an Uber car, which I'll tell you about that later. It's fabulous. It did cost us $50 to get from Brooklyn to Queens to get this car, and then I drove back in the sleet from Queens to Brooklyn, and then the next day from Brooklyn to Cape Cod in winter weather back there. And so the point is, the trip was magical ultimately, but along the way I was looking at God's surprises and thinking, boy, oh boy, this is really difficult, and I am determined to find the blessing here. And once we got there, it was even better than if it had been easier, because God's surprises made this into a hero's journey. And once we got there, we said, oh, I'm so glad we're here. I'm so glad we're here. We would have felt so bad if we were back in New York. This is so great. And Lloyd is very, very fine, to tell you the truth. So that was another great surprise. So when we know something is challenging and we still do it, it works out that the surprise is even better. So I encourage you to take that quote of mine and make it your own. Next is nurture our divine connection. So when we discover what kind of a relationship that we want with God, we court that just like you do with a person. If you want a collegial relationship with someone, you offer collegial information. If you want a romantic relationship with someone, you flirt. You know, you do the same thing with the infinite. So if you want a relationship with surprises with God, then you open to that and you say you want it. So I have two examples of how two people did it. One is Pam Grout. We have this book in the bookstore, and this is a book of 9 do-it-yourself experiments to prove to yourself about God. And this is the first one. Now, I like what she does, but her language to me is not how I talk to, my infinite friend. But this is the experiment number 1, which is entitled "The Dude Abides Principle." So this is what the theory is. This is the test that you do, the little experiment. So the theory is there is an invisible energy force or field of infinite possibilities, and it's yours for the asking. The question is, does this really exist? So the hypothesis is, if there's a 24/7 energy force equally available to everyone, I can access it at any time simply by paying attention. Furthermore, if I ask the force for a blessing, giving it a specific time frame and clear instructions, it'll send me a gift and say, "My pleasure." So the time required for her is 48 hours, and here's the approach. This is what she says to God. "I hate to break it to you, infinite potentiality, but folks are starting to talk. They're starting to wonder, is this guy for real? I mean, really. Like, it'd be so much skin off your chin to come down here and call off this crazy hide-and-seek thing you've been playing. I'm giving you exactly 48 hours to make your presence known. I want a thumbs up, a clear sign, something that cannot be written off as a coincidence." You can do this. You can do this. I did it not quite that way. The way I did it was the way Joe Dispenza did it in What the Bleep Do We Know? There's that section in What the Bleep Do We Know with Joe Dispenza, who is the chiropractor, and it's the How I Create My Day segment. And interestingly enough, that has been the most requested segment to repeat in print and on YouTube and all these things of any of that piece, the whole movie of What the Bleep Do We Know? So Joe Dispenza says, "I spend some time each morning creating my day. I go over my schedule and I picture and imagine how I want each piece of it to go. And then I ask the Creator to bring me a sign and bring me the elements of my day in such a way that I know that this sign is created especially for me. That there can be no coincidence, and I can recognize it immediately, that this is you, O great infinite intelligence of the universe, creating for me a special surprise that lets me know that you are listening and that you know me." So I did this morning, and you saw God's surprise for me with that glitch in the sound system. That was for me. That was for me. That's the surprise that God gave me today. And you can do this for you in either way, or create your own way, but you just say to God, that's what I want. I want surprises that are specially for me, so there's no doubt, because I'm kind of dull sometimes and I need it really, really obvious. And then what happens when you do this repeatedly, your connection with Spirit is enhanced, and there is no doubt in your mind that you are the beloved of God, because you get to feel it every single day. So the next thing is practice beginner's mind with great innocence. Just waking up every morning and saying to yourself, what wonderful thing will happen today? What wonderful thing will happen? And when I was doing this, I remembered that movie, that silly movie from years back called 50 First Dates. And it was this love story about this woman who had amnesia, a very strange kind of amnesia, and she would forget her life when she went to sleep in the morning, and then she'd wake up and she just was so surprised all the time with what was going on around her. Well, during the course of the movie, she fell in love, she got married, she had children, and every day she would wake up and go, oh my, who are all these people? And her loving husband learned a way of bringing her up to speed quickly every day so that she was not shocked, and she got right into the program and lived her life until she went to sleep that night. But she woke up with such a beginner's mind. And if we could do that too and just say, all these things that are in my life, what blessings they are, and how curious and amazing and wonderful, and just call it good. And as we call it good, it becomes good. Then the last thing is learn the skill of creating great surprises. So we learn to replicate the nature of spirit in many, many ways. All of these qualities that we talk about in God and enjoy and receive and benefit by, we are that too, because the song said we are everything. And so we are all that God is. We can't be all that God is all the time because we live in a finite, world here of time and space and gravity, and we're confined in our bodies and in the time frame and so forth and so on. But we can, choice by choice by choice by choice, replicate the nature of spirit. And so I think one of the greatest ways to replicate the nature of spirit is to become a good surprise maker. Because when you become a good surprise maker, what happens is that, like God, you know someone very, very well. You know them. And like God, you know what they like. You know what they would like. And like God, you want that for them. And so you create this plan or this surprise that you know would delight them. And then you give it to them. I think that loving surprises are the dearest, dearest ways of showing love. Like my first dog in the back seat of the car. That was a darling surprise. And so, as Christmas is coming on, and it's the gift-giving season, I know all of us will be going to at least one present exchange party. And so rather than go to the dollar store and just grab a bunch of stuff and wrap it for the gift exchange, think about what would delight the people at that party. What would absolutely delight them? And simply that puts your gift giving into a whole different atmosphere because it's starting with replicating the nature of spirit. What would the beloveds delight in? And then you go shopping for your gift to exchange. So in conclusion, I thought I really want to surprise you next year. And I want all of you to have that feeling of, oh my God, she's going to surprise us. And have, because we all like surprises now, right? And I want us all to be surprised by the infinite. I want us to have that storytelling ability where every time we get together on Sunday morning, we say, you have no idea what God did for me this week. Oh my God, let me tell you. So, are you ready? Want to be good surprisers with me? Okay, that's what we'll do. Thank you very much. So, as always, when you have coffee this afternoon and your friends say, Well, what did you learn today? This is it. Go ahead, surprise me, God. So taking that into the inner work and following your breath down to that place right around your heart and allowing your awareness to stop there and sit in the heart of God, which is in your heart. Imagine something that you are working on. Imagine and recall something that you're preparing, something that you're wondering about. And in your heart, you form a request of life. You form a request of life to guide you, to fulfill you, to offer you surprising solutions, to establish something entirely new, to surprise you and delight you in a way that is just for you. And you actually relax into the truth that God is so good to you.